Father leaders, all the world confess to guide us through national and personal challenges.
This House is now in session. Minutes of the meeting held Tuesday 23rd April 2019 and Tuesday 30th April 2019.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the meetings held on Tuesday 23rd April 2019 and Tuesday 30th April 2019 be deferred.
Question is that the aforementioned minutes be deferred. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are deferred.
Messages from Her Excellency the Governor General. Petitions. Papers.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the value-added tax refund Protos Inc. Order 2019.
Government notices.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of a resolution pertaining to the lease of 9,111.1 square meters of Crown land at Upton, Christchurch to the Maria Holder Memorial Trust.
Private members' notices. Notices of questions. Report from select committees. First reading of bills. Statements by ministers. Congratulatory and obituary speeches. Personal explanations. Motions for leave of absence. Oral replies to questions. Notices of motions for adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance. Orders of the day.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sitting.
The question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are so suspended. Government business is now the order of the day.
Order number 6. Order number 6, the name of the Honourable Minister of Home Affairs. Move second reading of the National Council on Substance Abuse Amendment Bill 2019.
Honourable member for St. James North.
Thank you, sir. Believe, sir, that on a day such as this is, you will permit me first, sir, since it was 58 years ago on this day that my mom gave me birth, to start by thanking the Lord Almighty, sir, for his guidance to me in helping me reach this stage. Whatever I am, sir, I'm far from perfect, but I've always tried my best to do good by the Lord and to the people. Of course, sir, it is an honor for me to be here today on my birthday. I don't know that many people have that opportunity to be in Parliament on their birthday, sir, but I would have it no other way. Serving the people of St. James North, to whom I'm deeply thankful, and the people of Barbados in the wider context, sir. Of course, like to thank my parents, friends, family, teachers, communities, my parliamentary colleagues, sir, all of these different people, all the members of the various organizations I've served throughout my life, for helping mold me into who I am at the present time, sir. I think also, sir, you will give me a bit of leave too to ask God's blessings on all the children who are at this very moment sitting the common entrance exam, sir, on a transition from primary to secondary school. And in fact, sir, to ask God's blessings on all the children in this country. This is the Child Month, as we annually celebrate the month of May as Child Month, sir. This bill before Parliament today is to amend the National Council of Substance Abuse Act. And so it's a simple amendment to change the definition of the word minister, because when the act was passed in 1995, sir, in fact it came into effect on the 1st of March 1996, minister was defined as the Attorney General, because the council started out as an agency formed under statute, sir, so it's a separate legal entity, a body corporate. It started out under the office of the Attorney General. But in 2001, the then administration of the Honourable Oinafa moved it under the aegis of the Ministry of Home Affairs. But the definition of minister, in other words, the minister responsible for the agency, was never altered to the Minister of Home Affairs or whoever. And this amendment today is to, in accordance with Section 43 of the Interpretation Act, sir, change the definition of minister to Prime Minister, sir, who, of course, is under Westminster model primus inter pares, sir, and who appoints every minister, but to change the definition to Prime Minister or other minister for the time being having responsibility for the subject matter of the enactment in respect of which that expression is used. That's the Interpretation Act, sir, as stated from the time we became a nation in 1966. Other pieces of legislation actually define minister in a lot of cases to be the minister with responsibility for the subject matter of the particular enactment, so that if, you know, a prime minister wants to move a particular department from Minister A or Ministry A to Ministry B, it would still be covered because it's defined as minister with responsibility for that particular subject matter or portfolio. But the interpretation, in fact, says, Prime Minister or Minister having responsibility for the subject matter of the enactment of which the piece of legislation is speaking about. And the Chief Parliamentary Council advised that that is how we define minister in this act. And of course, Cabinet has taken the advice of the Office of the Chief Parliamentary Council in this regard. But, sir, this debate, this amendment, provides the opportunity for me as Minister with responsibility for the National Council of Substance Abuse and of other parliamentarians, sir, and I look forward to the contributions from some other members who have, in terms of their profession, their career, sir, have had, in fact, more hands-on experience in terms of areas under this council, whether it is maybe medical, whether it is pharmacies, pharmaceuticals, sir. You yourself, sir, have had tremendous experience as a social welfare practitioner, social science.
Honourable Member, for your information,
Yes, sir.
for your information and elucidation, sir, I was one of the first employees at the same National Council.
Okay, sir.
From in
like I said,
1996.
sir, as I said, sir, I know you have had tremendous experience in social welfare, but I didn't know, sir, that you were also employed there. So you would have been employed there when it was set up.
That is correct, Honourable Member.
1996.
That is correct, sir.
Sir, so I should have taken counsel from you this morning when I woke up to prepare. So, sir, you would be able to more than most follow the debate, sir, but as I said, it is an opportunity to inform the general public of Barbados, not only, of course, this Parliament, but the wider public of Barbados and beyond, sir, of the work of the Council, sir, because we are here as a transparent government, accountable government, sir, and our public is the reason why we are here. The rationale, sir, for moving the responsibility for the administration and conduct of the organization in 2001 to the Office of the Ministry of Home Affairs from the Office of the Attorney General, sir, was that the mandate of the Council is wide and doesn't deal with law enforcement, but deals really and truly with drug control. And it was a growing concern in terms of public health, mixed with, the social impacts of drug abuse, rather than solely an issue of law enforcement, sir. And as I said, the National Council of Substance Abuse is a body corporate, and its reason for being, its functions are clearly defined in the Act, sir, which is Chapter 46 of the Laws of Barbados, and Section 4 defines the functions as an advisory body to the Minister on measures for the eradication or control of substance abuse, to advise the Minister on measures to prevent the proliferation of illegal narcotics and drugs, to devise and undertake and promote programs and projects aimed at the prevention, elimination, or control of substance abuse, to authorize, conduct, and facilitate research or surveys on substance abuse, to undertake or facilitate programs for the treatment and rehabilitation of persons affected by substance abuse, to manage facilities for the treatment and rehabilitation of persons affected by substance abuse, to coordinate or facilitate groups and organizations in the effort to eradicate or control substance abuse, to cooperate with local, regional, and international organizations with interests similar to those of the Council, And finally, sir, to solicit, receive, manage funds donated by government, the private sector, private citizens, and international organizations for the functions stated above. So the mandate of the council is wide, sir, and the council has very efficiently and diligently over the years carried out its objectives, sir, and functions, and I commend the present council, sir, the management and staff of the National Council for Substance Abuse in their efforts in fulfilling their mandate, sir. We're not allowed, of course, to recognize strangers, but they have presence here today, sir, both at the directorship level, the chairmanship level, and the management level. They presently carry out this mandate with only 19 members of staff, sir, and of course, in this day, sir, where we are still trying to get a handle on the economic malaise which we confronted almost a year ago on coming into office, there is no room for an increase in staff at the present time, but it's being ably handled by the 19. This government, cabinet would have filled the post since we came into office of deputy director, deputy general manager, which was vacant. That has strengthened the organization at management level as well, sir. The council is working diligently to update the audited financial statements, which are, of course, by law required to be laid in Parliament. I think that the last to have been submitted was 2012, sir. I am one, even as an opposition member, sir, who would have spoken on the need for statutory corporations to be up to date on the submission of their financial reports, annual reports to this Parliament, because this Parliament has to be able to keep a check on what's going on and can only do that if the reports, as required by law in all the cases of these statutory corporations, are laid in this Parliament for the benefit of members and the public on a timely basis, and the council is working, sir, on getting these reports up to date to be laid in this honourable chambers. The clientele of the council is mainly school-aged children, sir, but also adults, and included in this, sir, is the provision of support to family members of those who are addicted to drugs, to illegal narcotics, to illegal substances, sir. The services are free to the public. Parliament, of course, on an annual basis votes money for the operations of the council. This year, sir, we have obviously, as I said, in terms, we're still in a holding position, not increased its budget, sir. We will speak a bit later on in terms of the need for some financial resources for the council going forward. The council has a vision statement, sir, to be the authority in Barbados for drug abuse reduction. It, in fact, is the only government agency whose the funding of which is given by Parliament is solely dedicated to the purpose of control of drugs and drug abuse reduction. And its mission statement is to promote sustained action for positive change in the fight against substance abuse and in the facilitation of drug education, prevention, and drug-free lifestyles. The policy objectives of the council, sir, are essentially to develop and implement a Barbados national anti-drug policy, sir, and we will speak a bit more about that later in the debate. The overall policy, of course, is to mitigate substance abuse in Barbados. There's also been, in terms of policy, the establishment of a national observatory on drugs, also to strengthen the financial and internal operating systems. We spoke a bit in terms of the need for financial compliance and accountability in terms of the organization. There's also the objective of improving the existing use of technologies, to use technologies as the Honourable Prime Minister has urged all government departments to make better use of technology to improve efficiency. The need to create a marketing and communication strategy to improve that marketing and communication aspect of the council, to improve as well the human resource information and management practices, and to strengthen the records of that facility, and also to develop a learning organization to facilitate growth of the organization, of course, through the personal and professional development of the staff. So the mandate, as we said, and we could start out, so the mandate is based on drug demand reduction in schools and in the wider community. And the council offers a range of services to the public. In addition, of course, to the focus on school prevention, school-based prevention and community-based prevention, there is a research and information element to the council. In terms of the school prevention education, there's the council conducts an internationally accredited program called the Life Education Center, which promotes healthy lifestyles, teaches children how to cope with peer pressure, bullying, aggressive and stressful situations. And we know, sir, that this is a problem that confronts a lot of our young children in both primary and secondary schools. This type of early intervention represents an investment by the council in our children, who from as young as age 4 are encouraged, of course, to have a sense of self-worth and are given skills to buttress their capacity to resist substance abuse. In fact, Barbados is the only country in the Caribbean, sir, with a specialized high-tech classroom on wheels, which delivers the unique drug education and life skills program at primary school level. And you, sir, as a founder, a staff member of the association would know that. And since January 2008, through the mobile unit, the council has exposed over 45,000 primary school children to this kind of learning experience. So, tied into this, because no government department operates in a silo, sir, and tied into this, of course, is the whole program of this government that every school child must be involved in some extracurricular activity. You must be involved, sir, I mean, not only in terms of to have self-worth, as I said earlier on, sir, and self-confidence, but you must be involved in activities that create an element of team spirit, how to operate as a team, because there's no one, however talented, who can operate and succeed only as an individual. So you have to, we're encouraging all school children from early to be involved in some extracurricular activity. The Prime Minister, the Honourable Prime Minister likes to speak about every school child in Barbados must know how to swim. We're surrounded by an island. So you must be involved in some type of sports, drama, music, art, culture, scouts, guides, brownies. All of this develops you, sir, and is part of the building of your character to make you a whole person when you become an adult, able to serve not only yourself, your wider family, your community, but your nation as a whole, sir. And this is tied in with that focus by this administration. There are 7 programs within this regard that occur on a daily basis in some of our primary schools across the island. And over the past 7 years, these culturally relevant and age-appropriate interventions have exposed our population to drug education designed for the age group of the children. They're delivered, sir, not only by the team, the staff, school officers at the council, but also by volunteers, sir. And I take this opportunity to encourage more volunteers in this major area of social interaction in Barbados, sir. We cannot afford for illegal substance abuse to continue unabated in Barbados and to spread. And so, as I said, part of the thrust of this government too is to encourage volunteerism among our people, sir, because it can only be elected parliamentarians who can have the responsibility for intervening in unsociable practices or undesirable practices in this country. So it has to be all of us. And this is something, of course, that we have been pushing as a government to the people of Barbados. So I, for example, would love to see when it rolls out, sir, the university students who we have fulfilled our mandate as we said we would, as we promised in our manifesto, and as we said on political platforms a year ago, to return state-funded university education to them. I would love to see the beneficiaries of that policy, for instance, assisting in this regard with young school children, talking to them, mentoring them. So it's going to develop not only those young school children, but it would also augur well for the development, personal development of the volunteers, university students, community college, whoever, sir, because we're all in this together, sir. In terms of the community-based prevention, the aim of the council is to prevent and or reduce the proliferation and consumption of illicit drugs throughout the Barbadian community while promoting healthy drug-free lifestyles. To prevent or reduce consumption of illicit drugs by workers, sir, because obviously illegal substance abuse by employees, as the Honourable Minister for Labour, the Member of Parliament for St. Peter would say, sir, and would be able to tell this Parliament, it is a major problem. So to prevent and intervene in to reduce the consumption of illicit drugs by workers and to reduce the risks associated with its use. Also, the community-based interventions has as one of its objectives, of course, to promote and enhance the life skill abilities of young people in regard to drugs and their health, and to introduce alternative activities to drug abuse and deviant behavior, sir. Because as I said, to expand, if you're involved in worthy activities, sir, building your character, you're playing cricket, football, and so we wish the West Indies team about to embark on the World Cup all the best and look forward. We know we have the talent to bring home the trophy, sir. But if you could learn to swim and you're involved in drama and culture and art and you know, all these noble activities as young people, you're not going to have time now for drug use or deviant behavior, because that can slow you down anyway, physically and mentally. And the council is involved in programs such as sports intervention, workplace drug prevention activities, specialized programs, also focusing on most vulnerable groups such as persons with disabilities who obviously, sir, you know, are susceptible to being unfaired. Not only in this country, sir, but in others because of their vulnerability and susceptibility to those who don't mean them well. As I said, sir, there is also a research and information element of the council, and that involves Barbados Drug Information Network, under the acronym BARDN, sir, which deals with, is an attempt to provide factual information on drug use through the use of data collection protocols. And such protocols provide the opportunity to collect, to analyze, and disseminate drug-related data through which more accurate information can be garnered as to the status of the drug problem in our country. We know, sir, that especially now with the wider use of social media, which has, of course, its pros and cons like everything else in society, false information goes out, fake news, sir, and therefore part of the mandate of the council is to disseminate to the public accurate information which is based on scientific analysis and research, so that more accurate information can be garnered. The BARDN project is reflective of a culmination of efforts, various participating agencies, sir, because, as I said, and I'll speak to this a bit later on too, it can't be the work of the council alone as a government agency. The Royal Barbados Police Force is involved in this, the prisons, the Customs, Excise Department, the Government Industrial School, all working closely in collaboration with the Research and Information Department of the agency. And the collection of this information is disseminated among stakeholders for their perusal and further planning. The organization has conducted, as you would know, sir, several research projects since 1998, and it is ready to move to its next level of operations, providing greater policy direction based on scientific and evidence-based research. I want to emphasize, sir, that the emphasis on drug demand reduction, which is mandate of the National Council of Substance Abuse, is distinct from the drug supply reduction, which is the aim of the law enforcement and interdiction agencies. And the council, though, is firm in its support, sir, for the law enforcement agencies of this country, the police and Barbados Defense Force, etc., in their mandate to reduce the supply of drugs into this country, sir. So something, sir, that has taken up a tremendous amount of time and effort of this government, especially within the last few months, sir, because, of course, all our efforts to buttress and improve the economy and the economic development of this country, sir, which we have been doing successfully in the just over 11 months we've been in office, sir, can be totally undermined if we don't get control of crime under our wing, sir. The council is fully in support of the law enforcement agencies in this regard. The organization, sir, is a stakeholder in facilitating and improving the treatment and rehabilitation centers and facilities which are present in Barbados, sir. Of course, we have the psychiatric hospital falling under, of course, the mandate of the Honourable Member for the City, Minister of Health, and clearly the Council works in close association with that department, sir, and I certainly will be contacting the Honourable Minister, my parliamentary colleague, in the near future to, at ministerial level, see how we could advance this process as well. A stakeholder of the Council, of course, is Verdun House, sir, an organization in which merits tremendous commendation, sir, has done a lot of work in Barbados within the last few years in trying to treat those who voluntarily go to it for drug rehabilitation, sir. And I want from the floor of this Parliament, sir, to commend the Goslin family, sir, a European family that funds about 80% or more of the Verdun House, sir. I mean, when I first looked at the reports of the Verdun House and saw the amount of money that this family puts into that institution on an annual basis, sir, I was amazed. I had heard about this family, the Goslin family, because they own property in my constituency, sir. But before a few months ago, I did not know that they were the main financial sponsors of the Verdun House, and we commend them. And this is a case, sir, where there's a family that has seen the potential and the beauty of this country. As a family, I mean, it was the father, sir, the patriarch who is dead now. The daughters have continued so far, and we hope that they do continue, sir, to see the benefit in funding this institution. But it's a case where people who visit Barbados on an annual basis and effectively have Barbados as their second home, especially during the winter season, and who the Honourable Member for St. James Central, Minister of Tourism, I know is indebted to every year, coming down, spending money, buttressing our foreign exchange. And it's these type of people who have seen the benefit of investing in Barbados as well. But not only for the good of Barbados, but for their own good too, to continue so that Barbados can continue, sir, to be the second home and the safe haven for them when they and their friends and colleagues visit Barbados. And also, sir, would wish to mention the Maria Holder House, sir. Again, I would have visited both of these houses, of course, both of these institutions as minister. The Maria Holder Institution House, just as Verdun House, sir, are in the beautiful parish of St. John, sir, represented here by the Minister of State, the Ministry of Housing, sir. Of course, we're happy, sir, that the people of St. John have seen the light and have seen the way almost a year ago, and both of those properties are on lovely pieces of real estate, especially Maria Holder House, funded by the Maria Holder Trust, sir, who time and again, sir, I have found it fit to, as is only right to do on the floor of this Parliament, to give credit to for investing in Barbados, sir, funding Maria Holder House in St. John. Maria Holder House caters exclusively to women. When I went there, sir, I mean, it is underpopulated. There is room for many more females to be able to voluntarily, sir, because it's a basis to say, I want to go to Maria Holder House for 3 months, 3 months programs. In the first instance, it could be extended another 3 months and be rehabilitated. The problem there, sir, the problem there, and answer is a concern, because the statistics show, and my honourable colleagues will know, because they're all on the ground in their constituencies. And we know, sir, that there is an increasing use of illegal substance abuse by females in this country. That is one of the recent phenomena that we have to deal with as a government. And one of the challenges I was told, and I have no reason to doubt, sir, is that a lot of women really don't want to go to Maria Holder House for 3 months, sir, or 6 months, because invariably they would be leaving behind the children, sir, and that's a challenge for them. But really and truly, I want to urge those women who have found themselves involved in illegal substance abuse, sir, to take this treatment, sir. Is in facilities that are, as I said, stupendous. Lovely air coming off the coast of St. John, sir, beautiful area. And really and truly, the facilities are there to reconcile and rehabilitate more women who are now subject to substance abuse, sir. I just wanted, sir, for the record, sir, to spell, because it is a European name, the name of the family, R-A-U-S-I-N-G, sir, that fund the Verdun House almost exclusively. So they're different. We have also, as I said, private sector intervention to assist in this, the drug prevention, drug control that the council is legislatively responsible for embarking on. The council is in the process of expanding its counseling services, sir, with the acquisition of drug testing kits, which will assist in providing evidence-based response to its interventions. A fundamental part of this whole exercise, sir, has been the establishment of the drug treatment court, sir, which you would be fully aware of, sir, not only as a social welfare practitioner, but as a leading criminal lawyer. So the drug treatment court is an initiative of the Inter-American Drug Abuse Control Commission, CCAD, sir. In short, it has been set up by the efforts of the Organization of American States, sir, that is represented here at in Barbados at ambassadorial level, sir, with funding largely from the Canadian government, sir. And again, I would wish to thank, on behalf of the government and people of Barbados, the government of Canada, sir, which has always been a friend of this country from the time we became independent, sir. Especially of course, the late Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, sir, and his son, now today, Prime Minister of Canada. In 2014, the first pilot drug treatment court was established, sir, and I think there have been 3 or 4 graduations of persons since then from the drug treatment court. About 3 months ago, I attended the latest graduation of persons who would have found themselves in conflict with our criminal justice system, sir, for possession or use of illegal substances, but whom the court, in its wisdom and quite rightly, would have said, look, incarcerating this group of persons for personal use of drugs, whether it's marijuana, other drugs, makes no sense, sir. Send them up to Dodge for a few months. when done, they come out, they still have a problem, sir. They need to be treated. Let's rehabilitate here through this court. And that's the setup. And I commend those who have graduated from this court, sir, and we pray and hope that they keep on the straight and narrow way and don't go back into the bad habit of drug use. So it's an alternative to jail sentence, sir, and something that we need to further. And my ministry is actively working on proposals to bring to Cabinet and once approved, of course, to this Parliament in terms of reform of legislation which would broaden alternative sentencing for persons who are not trafficking in drugs, sir, because trafficking, of course, must remain an offence for which you are subject to sanction of a confinement, sir, but for personal use, sir. And of course, as you are fully aware, sir, and as the public is fully aware, the mandate of our government and Cabinet has approved, sir, and the legislation is being actively worked on under the Ministry of Agriculture, sir, nobly led by the Honourable Member for St. Philip South, sir, actively working on legislation to decriminalise marijuana, similar drugs for medical use, sir. And just to again emphasise, sir, that the issue of decriminalisation of substances illegal substances for personal use, sir, will be decided, as far as this government is concerned, by the people of Barbados in due course by referendum, sir. The National Council of Substance Abuse is the designated secretariat for the Drug Treatment Court, sir, assist in counselling support for its clients as well. The council, of course, sir, is because Barbados, as we always say, can operate in a vacuum. The council is affiliated internationally to many NGOs and international agencies, including the other Caribbean drug councils, the World Health Organization, the Pan American Health Organization dealing with the health aspect of illegal drug use, to UNICEF, sir, which of course protects children at international level, UNESCO, dealing with the cultural aspect of society, and it is also affiliated to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and of course, as we said, to the Organization of American States. The whole issue, sir, is that Barbados is, whether we like it or not, at present, and for many years in the past, sir, a transshipment point for drugs between producing countries and consuming nations, sir. We are, of course, out there to the east of the Caribbean, standing on our own, and but we are part of the Americans, sir, South America, Central, North, sir, where, you know, in South America, sir, drugs are grown, sir. I mean, this is a stated fact. And then there's a large consumer population, sir, to the north of us. We are transshipment points, sir. And this, obviously, has a consequence of a threat to our law and order, sir. Something that we have to be conscious about, we have to deal in, we have to invest our social and economic capital to deal with this issue. And, sir, the last time the Barbados Labour Party was in office, we would have devised a national strategic plan, 2005 to 2025, those members, and of course led by the Honourable Prime Minister, who would have been members of That government, sir, would know more about this than I do, but Goal 3 of that strategic plan dealt with strength and unity, building social capital, sir. And the amazing thing, sir, was the Democratic Labour Party on coming into office in January 2008. You never heard anything more about that national strategic plan, sir, that vision of Barbados to, in 20 years, 2025, have Barbados as a developed country, smallest developed country in the world, sir. And never heard the Democratic Labour Party as a government speak towards that. And in fact, we had 10 lost years, sir, and we declined economically and socially as a country. We needed, in addition, for more volunteers, well, on an individual basis, but NGOs as well, non-governmental organizations, to assist in the Council's program. We need greater private sector participation, sir, and there are private sector organizations, I will never deny, who assist in this fight to control illegal substance abuse and to deter it, sir, and I commend those that do. But we also call on the private sector as a body to increase their assistance in this and to partner with government, including, of course, with the National Council of Substance Abuse, by investing more of their resources in support of the anti-drug initiative. Because, sir, you can't afford, no organization, government or private sector can afford to have employees that are subject, that are addicted to drugs, sir. Therefore, sir, this is also self-interest that we are appealing to in terms of greater private sector involvement in this whole process. The Democratic Labour Party, sir, the Cabinet of the Democratic Labour Party in June 2016 approved a national anti-drug plan of 2015-2020, sir, the aim of which was to, under the mandate of the Council, to control the spread of illegal drug abuse in Barbados, sir. The problem, sir, was that the Democratic Labour Party, as the last government, as was its norm, didn't allocate any funds for it, sir. So you devise a plan, sir, on a major aspect to try to socially intervene in a problem of Barbados, sir, but you don't fund it, sir. So the documents are on a piece of paper, sir. On a piece of paper, sir, but nothing was done about it, sir. And that's so sad, sir. That's so sad. So the Council is at present, sir, updating this plan. And clearly, sir, when that is done, I intend to bring it before this Cabinet, sir, with a strong campaign, sir, for us to provide funding to it. Because this, as I said, is part of the whole social intervention of this government, sir, and touches on so many aspects of our country, our need to control the spread of, and in fact reduce illegal substance abuse in Barbados. So it may very well be that it may be best, just like how the last Barbados Labour Party administration was successfully able to deal with the spread of HIV/AIDS, sir, and to give credit to that cabinet, sir, the cabinet, as I said, of the Honourable Oinafa, of which there are about 6 or 7, I believe, members of this Parliament who would have been part of that administration, sir. But that administration was able to arrest the development and spread of HIV/AIDS by making a line item in each government department, ministry, for the addressing of the spread of that phenomenon to be included in its budget, sir. And that the proposal would have been put to the last Democratic Labour Party government to do the same in terms of drug control, sir, illegal substance abuse control, and it was not agreed on, sir. And it may very well come to that, sir, certainly when we are better able financially to allocate funds, to have such a line item in each ministry to deal with this code, sir. So the council, sir, has committed to my ministry, sir, and to me as minister to submit an update of this national anti-drug plan next month, sir. And thereafter, as I said, it would be my intention to bring it before my cabinet colleagues, sir, for approval and for some funding. Clearly, sir, as you would have, and this Parliament would have heard when I read the functions and mandate of the Council, it also has the legislative ability to get funding internationally, sir, whether from other countries or from other donor countries or from international agencies. And again, it is something that the Council would be actively looking at doing, obviously with Cabinet approval. But the updated plan needs to be clearly operationalized, sir, and we will hopefully have that done in the near future. The emphasis in the plan, sir, is, and I just give me a little leave, sir, is based on legislative reform. So we would have to update the relevant legislation, sir. As I said, once it's approved, it's on resource management, it's on information sharing mechanisms, and on monitoring and evaluation of the whole issue. And, you know, this is an important aspect of the whole fight that we are dealing with here. I want to also, at this time, sir, mention the Criminal Justice and Research and Planning Unit. Another small department, sir, only has, I think, about 8 or 9 staff members, falling under the Office of the Attorney General. And the Council would, of course, also get information, evidence, and data supplied by that small government agency in its fight against this challenge which confronts us. And in the report of the Criminal Justice Research and Project Unit, sir, of 2015 on the prevalence and nature of marijuana use in Barbados, based on information, interviews with inmates of Dodge Prison, there's a strong correlation, sir, stated in that report, for early marijuana use and criminal behavior. In other words, sir, the unit, and I'm sure we have no doubt, sir, that there's a correlation between early use of marijuana and involvement in crime, sir. And something that we have to deal with, sir. The research is showing the first use of marijuana in Barbados by children is being lowered. So it's on average, maybe among those who use it or have used it right now, about age 10, 11, sir. That is not good, sir. So some as the Honourable Member for St. Thomas is telling me, sir, as young as 6, 7, sir, using marijuana in this country. And it's not good, sir. I mean, You know, sir, I mean, we as parents have a responsibility, sir, to not only to our children, but to wider society too. And I mean, I implore parents, if you want to use it, don't involve your children in that, sir. At age 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, sir, they should be enjoying themselves. They should be developing the character. As I said, involved in cricket, football, running, sir. They should be aspiring now to be the next Usain Bolt, Gary Sobers, you know. Teamwork. Going to church, sir. Spirituality, as I said, I believe in my last contribution to this parliament, sir, last month. You might not be a believer in God, sir, but you're going to have to believe in some higher spiritual being, whether you call it God, God, Jehovah, whatever, sir. There's a higher spiritual being, sir. And you know, when the Honourable member for St. Peter and I would have spoken to students of Gordon Greenwich on Friday, who are at this moment, as I said, sitting in the common entrance exam, sir. We asked them, how many of you all will be going to church on Sunday to ask God's help and guidance, sir? I mean, you shouldn't only be going to church for a particular purpose. It should be on a constant basis, sir. I mean, the majority would have put up their hands, sir. I asked that when I went to St. Albans right after, sir. Again, the majority. But, sir, yeah, church, spiritual foundation, sir, to give you values, because that is the issue, sir. The issue isn't going to church for going to church's sake, but to create values, moral principles in you, which have to be instilled in you, have to be, sir, instilled in the young people of this country for us to go forward as a nation and not be tied up with using drugs, sir, marijuana, before age 10 or at age 10. So these are the issues which the council deals with, sir. But as I said, it can be only 30 people in an elected parliament, 19 people employed by a council, sir. Has to be all of us, sir. And the church, obviously, I know, sir, that there are many church organizations that have been carrying out their mandates, sir, going on the blocks and going at community level to assist in this regard. But more churches need to be involved in assisting government and assisting the nation in this whole enterprise, sir. There's a correlation, of course, with adverse psychiatric repercussions with use of illegal substance abuse, which is worrisome as well. And I spoke earlier about the growing challenge of wider female drug use as well, sir. But the Criminal Justice Research and Planning Unit, as I said, speaks to the correlation between early marijuana use and criminal behavior. And in a report as well by that institution in 2014, it clearly has economic repercussions too, financial, sir. We don't have the money at this stage to deal with it, sir. We could find the money we surely need the money for other areas of social development. But that organization in 2014 delivered a report that said over the last 6 years on average, in other words, between 2009 and 2014 inclusive, government spent $35 million, sir, housing persons in prison for drug-related agencies. $35 million, sir. But $35 million could build so many houses, sir, not only in St. James North, but all over Barbados, sir. It could repair roads. I saw that the Honourable member for Christchurch West, sir, and St. Lucie, sir, can use that to repair some of these 70% of roads in disrepair that we found a year ago when we came into office, sir. I mean, schools, sir, for people with disabilities and children that need interventions. academic level, sir. We could use it to assist those who need greater rehabilitation, first-time offenders, sir. I mean, all of these, our social welfare, sir, to give to those who can't help themselves, the elderly persons with disabilities, people who live on their own. All of this 35 million, sir, could be useful if we had this now before this Parliament. In estimates 2 months ago, we would have found tremendously useful ways to deal with it, rather than have to deal now with housing people in prison for drug-related offences, sir. Because the reality, sir, is that it's estimated that between 10 and 20% of prisoners are incarcerated for possession of illegal substances, sir. As I said, the courts, and again, we have to assist now, again, by intervening legislatively. Again, sir, the courts are looking at alternative ways, sir, but we need to buttress that. We also have before, at least in our manifesto, sir, a wider use of alternative sentencing and making reparations to the community in which you might have committed the offence, sir, and recompensing the victims of the offence in some way, so rather than incarcerating for possession of illegal substance abuse, sir. But in addition to that, over 50%, it is estimated, sir, of persons in prison have an underlying drug abuse problem, over 50%, over 1 in 2, and have been convicted for for drug-related offences, sir, and you would know this better than I do, sir, because you're a practitioner in it. Over 50% of those incarcerated in Dodds are in there because, as a direct result, sir, of having some underlying drug abuse problem and having been convicted of drug-related offences, sir. Therefore, we have, as a government, sir, to tackle at many fronts. It's not only the economics, but this wider social problem. And the National Council of Substance Abuse, of course, sir, is part of that fight, sir. And we at the Ministry of Home Affairs level will give them the support to carry out that fight, sir. As I said, sir, based on information, the economic, not to mention the social costs of illegal substance abuse among our population is inestimable, sir. I mean, you really can't estimate and quantify in terms of financial costs the consequences of this problem, sir. Because in addition, you have wider, the impact on families, sir. Because when a father, for instance, or a son is now addicted to legal substance abuse, sir, the mental anguish on those close family relatives, sir, you can't quantify that now in terms of dollars and cents, sir. A mother might feel that she has done her best, sir, and tried her best with this child, encouraged it, you know, in the ways of the Lord, sir, when it was young, but, you know, for some reason or another, peer pressure, whatever, sir, need or feeling that you want a quick dollar, sir, rather than go and earn it. Honestly, you're involved in this now, family breakup, sir. So all of this is part of the challenge and the phenomenon that we are dealing with here within the context of the Council. We need greater research to be able to quantify the true economic and social costs as best as we can of crime in this country, consequent on the drug trade and use. We, sir, as a government, as a parliament, as you are fully aware, sir, are making efforts, sir. We are trying our best, sir, within the context of our economy, sir, to deal with this issue. This year, we have brought to this parliament and passed, sir, the legislative strengthening of the judiciary, sir, increasing the amount of judges that we will have with 2 of those judges, as you know, sir, to be assigned to the criminal courts of this country, sir, so that you could get your cases heard quicker, sir. We have changed the law, sir, to say that a judge must deliver a judgment within 6 months, sir. Something which, when I was on the other side of this parliament, I said should have been done by the previous government, sir. I mean, judges accountable too, all of us accountable, sir, in our different roles. And nobody could say that we independent enough, sir. You have a duty to the people of this country, sir. So we brought the law 6 months to give a judgment. If not, repercussions can go on, sir, can trigger repercussions, sir. We're dealing with illegal firearms in this country, sir. And tremendous amount of effort has been done in terms of securing our country, sir, in this respect. We have no choice, sir. So we voted $40 million, sir, for scanners at customs, sir, where a year ago only 6% of the goods coming into Barbados through the port were scanned. We voted millions of dollars for great equipment, sir, for the police. We're strengthening the hands, sir, customs, defense force, the interdiction agency, the law enforcement agency, sir. All of this government has been doing, sir, where the last government was sleeping on the job in this regard. We have brought legislation a few months ago, sir, 2 months ago, to treat to the issue of the management and disposition of assets and the forfeiture of profits obtained through illegal means, including through illegal drug trafficking and corruption, sir. All of this administration has been doing, sir. We fighting battle on all fronts, sir. Never a government of Barbados came into offices and every aspect of a society in complete disarray, as the Barbados Labour Party on coming into office a year ago. But we're tackling it, sir, and we will not recoil from our responsibility as the political leaders of this country to do good by our people, sir. There's a need for the council to, of course, raise its profile, sir, and that is why I am happy for this opportunity today to spend some time informing this Parliament, sir, and the people of Barbados and wider Barbadians in the diaspora and beyond, because I'm sure, sir, as you have heard, sir, the mandate of the Council also impacts on other agencies, the Government of Canada, who has helped us, OAS, sir, international agencies, we went through them, WHO, POWER, all of them, sir. But in trying to raise the profile of the Council and to show the rightful place of this organization within the context of trying to curb illegal drug use and its spread in this country. The Council has to do more in terms of raising its profile through the wider publicity of its programs and its projects, by strengthening its research function, sir, which it is doing, by improving its school-based interventions and implementation of sustainable evidence-based community programs, sir, which is in the process of doing, sir. All of this is required to mitigate substance abuse in this country, sir. We will, of course, at my ministry and as my government, sir, support these efforts as best as we can. But there's a need for greater collaboration and determination and strategy now of coordination between the various government departments. And certainly within my ministry, sir, we are doing that between government departments. We've had meetings between, for example, the Council, National Council for Substance Abuse, the Government Industrial School, because, like I said, as I've said before, many of the too large a percentage of those at the Government Industrial School, sir, have been involved with illegal substance abuse. And this Parliament will hopefully, sir, again subject to cabinet approval, and have the opportunity to debate a new child justice bill, sir, so that we can rid ourselves of the 100-year-old legislation that presently determines the fate of a child that finds itself before the criminal justice system, sir. That bill is ready, and cabinet paper being prepared for presentation to cabinet in the very near future. But we've had meetings, Government Industrial School, Council, the Probation Department, the prison, sir, because all of these come together as part of our justice system. As I said, we're going wider than that, sir. My ministry has approached the Ministry of Education, as was stated by the Honourable Minister of Education when she was in the well of Parliament being questioned during the course of the estimates, to improve the quality of academic education and vocational training of those residents of the government industrial schools. As I said, we have to, of course, have greater collaboration between the Ministry of Health, the Psychiatric Hospital, and these agencies as well. And I will be speaking with as I said, with the Honourable Minister of Health on this particular point, sir. Because government is all one. It isn't that people operating out there apart by themselves, sir. We can't get through that way at all. If not, you would just be spinning top in mud. We're all in this together, sir. And we all have to fight, to save this country, sir. So, sir, I am satisfied that with the limited resources, both in terms of human resources and financial, sir, the council is doing its best, sir. We will try to get more funding for it to implement the updated national drug plan, anti-drug plan, sir, of which I spoke, and in terms of greater social interventions with school-age children at primary school basis, in terms of the communities as well. The council, and as I said, sir, again, commend the staff and management, board of directors of it, and within the limited financial resources, sir. But we clearly will seek to strengthen those efforts going forward, sir, as we try to tackle to a greater degree the scourge of illegal substance abuse among too many of our people. I'm obliged to you, sir.
Honourable Member for St. James South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and greetings to my colleague. Oh, sorry.
To move that this bill be seconded, sir. To be read a second time, I'm sorry.
Honourable Member for St. James South.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker, and greetings to my colleague from St. James North. And let me thank him for such a broad and comprehensive presentation on the issue of drugs, drug prevention and reduction in Barbados. I rise to give support, Mr. Speaker, to what he has shared here today, because it's so important to the future of Barbados. He has shared the challenges that we will experience as a nation as we seek to cope with and manage the whole issue of drug use and drug abuse. It's not an easy task. And I had the privilege of being the chairman of the National Council on Substance Abuse when, under its very first manager. And I also had the privilege at the time, then the deputy manager was also present while I was chairing. She is presently the manager today, Miss Betty Headley. So I speak today from a position of passion about the issue of how are we going to assist our young people in being able to secure and direct and focus their decisions in ways that are helpful and not harmful to their future. The issue is one, sir, that there are different views about the issue of drug use and drug abuse. And I want to commend the National Council on Substance Abuse for its tremendous commitment, energy that they've put into helping Barbados to deal with this matter over a number of years. Let me start by saying that this particular unit is a small unit, as was shared. They have 20 members of staff. But one of the things that impressed me about this unit as chairman was that every staff member was carefully selected for their skill, first of all, in the area of drug prevention, and selected for their passion for helping our youth to safeguard themselves and safeguard their health. And so, despite its small numbers, the team worked assiduously every day. It didn't matter how long it took. They worked assiduously to be able to put together the programs that were necessary for the education of the society, especially the education of our young in understanding the difference between drug use and drug abuse. And they did tremendous work. I remember at one point in my chairmanship, we were asked to account for what we were doing in relation to staffing, in relation to activities and so on. And I'll never forget that when the manager rolled out the tremendous list of activities that were being executed in relation to this, the question was asked, how are you getting all of this done? And the answer came back, we have a tremendous core of volunteers, of people from across the society who come and commit their time to work on all of the projects. At that time, we had more than 20 different activities being executed by that small unit. We had activities in the community, we had activities in the private sector, we had activities in the schools, we had activities with our strategic partners, because the work that NCSA does cannot be executed without a huge network of partners, whether it is the police, whether it is places like Verdun House, whether it's CASA, which has a counseling program, whether it's a psychiatric hospital. It is part of a wide network of persons who go to work every day to be able to help us to manage the issue of drug use and drug abuse. And I want to commend the volunteers because they made a tremendous difference to our work. I want to commend the parents who took the time to be a part of everything we were doing. That unit was always abuzz with activity. Its rooms were always filled with groups sitting, working through the implementation of a project that is going to help Barbados handle and manage the issue of drug abuse. And sir, it really has not been easy. Why? Because there has been a controversy pertaining to the impact of drugs, especially the drug of choice in Barbados, which is marijuana, where you have arguments on one side that it is not a problem, it does not have side effects, it is not as damaging as the other drugs. What is the issue? You have people drinking alcohol, you have people popping Fensic and Panadol, you have people smoking cigarettes, etc. And so there are these mixed messages that go to our youth that says to them, you know something, it just might be these sticks in the mud, these boring middle-class people who just want to deprive them of the opportunity of using a drug when they have legalized their own sets of poisons, and they now want to prevent us from enjoying our marijuana. So when I say it isn't easy, it really isn't. The other thing that has complicated their task is the science as well. Yes, there is a lot of science that explains the impact of drugs on the human system. It explains the impact of marijuana on the human system. But there are also counter voices that try to challenge that science and therefore muddy the waters for our young people. But it isn't only that. It isn't just the confusion of the science or the difference in views about whether marijuana is harmful or not, or the views on other drugs. It is also the fact that years ago, as a teenager growing up, our parents, by and large, apart from the alcohol and cigarettes, didn't really use what they term evil drugs. Alcohol and cigarettes were accepted as normal and acceptable drugs. And so you had a generation of parents who were struggling with children who wanted to experiment with this new thing, whether it was the marijuana, the cocaine, the whatever. And so there was this divide between the parents and the children. And parents collaborated with teachers, collaborated with the enforcement people to try to constrain or to reduce the spread of the demand for drugs and the use of drugs and the abuse of drugs by their children. The problem that the NCSA finds itself with today is that the generation who, against the will of their parents, consume drugs at will, were facilitated in acquiring drugs with ease. Many of them have now become parents to a new generation of Barbadian children. And so the problem has escalated now, where a child in Barbados can grow up in his or her home where the indiscriminate use of marijuana is acceptable, is normal, is what they grow up seeing their parents do. Now imagine that child sitting in school being confronted by an NCSA program seeking to educate him or her about the potential damage they are doing with the indiscriminate use and abuse of marijuana, and they go home to a parent who uses it at will and may even promote the sale of it in their community. This is a tremendous conundrum and it's unfair to our children. So one of the things this society has to do, we have to sit and examine the facts, not the opinions, not the views, not the preferences, not the likes, dislikes, or biases of those for or against the issue of the use of marijuana. We have got to sit and examine the science that says to us, is this safe for use? If it is, how should it be used? How should it not be used? And as a sensible society, we need then to formulate policy, we need to formulate law that then gives life to the very best management of that substance called marijuana. It really, really cannot be left to preference and bias. Now, we have had a tremendous struggle with previous drugs, as I outlined. And NCSA was in the forefront of that fight when it came to alcohol abuse and when it came to the smoking of cigarettes. And a society pays an enormous price in both its health and its economy and the stability of its society because of the abuse of cigarettes and alcohol. Alcohol is probably the #1 problem above marijuana in this country. And we've not been able to properly bring that to heel. I want to commend the group, however, who about 15, 20 years ago decided that they were going to take on the issue of the smoking of cigarettes. And they did a tremendous campaign. It took 8 or 9 years, Mr. Speaker, for them to treat to the smoking of cigarettes as a health issue. And they were able to significantly reduce smoking in Barbados. Smoking when I was a child was normal. It was the cool thing to do, Mr. Speaker. Holding a cigarette in one's hand, foot lap, rocking back, you were part of the now generation. That was how cigarettes were marketed to our population. But a set of diligent, committed people who understood that it robbed people of their health and therefore robbed families of parents, of fathers and mothers, that it robbed industries of productive persons to work, that it generated health costs that a society and the entire citizenry had to carry in relation to their health care costs and therefore the taxation to support it. They came together and mounted a successful campaign. It took time. They were not discouraged. They did not give up. They felt that if they continued, they were going to be able to reduce smoking in Barbados, and they did. So much so that when you are socializing in public and somebody lights up with a cigarette, everybody looks around like, you still doing that? You still doing that? And because of the tremendous interest by citizens in their health, because there's more information about the impact of whether it's the cigarettes or the exhaust fumes coming out from our cars, or whether it is sick buildings, because there is a greater understanding and a greater interest in our health, it has generated a wellness movement that we need to capitalize on and to continue that work so that we can help the next generation to understand that just as all those other things have damaged us, the alcohol, the cigarettes, the car smoke, all the things that we've been doing that have been injurious to our health, that they also have to recognize that marijuana can also be injurious to their health unless it is used for its true and proper purpose. And this is the work that NCSA has to do. It has got to fight against that tide of popular thought, and it has to remain focused and committed on doing this work. What are some of the costs of drug misuse and the criminality that it generates? In the United States, it is estimated that it costs the GDP of the United States $120 billion. They now have an opioid problem that has come through what? The legal writing of prescriptions of opioid drugs, and because the persons who are tasked with the safety and the safeguarding of the health of the nation decided that for reasons of money or carelessness or, well, I can't use that other word, Bajan word, they overprescribed and broke the protocols that were to safeguard the lives of people, and now America has a serious opioid crisis. They say that drug abuse and its resulting costs can have an impact of up to 1% on your GDP. It is not just the health, it is not just death in the cases of the more dangerous drugs. It is also because your border controls can be compromised. Your customs can be compromised. Your police can be compromised. That the criminality of this particular activity can break down a society. And when you consider if that is having a 1% impact on the GDP of Barbados, then it is possible that this is having an impact of just under $100 million on the Barbadian economy. I remember at one time the NCSA had a trained health economist who was on staff. I believe he moved to another agency. But persons like those need to do the necessary research and feed that information into the governmental system so that we can look at what we're doing and we can make sound judgments and good policy. The National Council on Substance Abuse, therefore, has had the task, these 20 persons and their volunteer teams then have had put before them the task to embrace an entire society, to work with an entire society, to mobilize it, to act in its own best interests. And that task has not been easy and has never been easy. I just want to share a couple of the programs because there are a lot. You heard the minister in charge of this particular agency, the Honourable Member for St. James North, speak at length on a number of things that they do. But I want to pinpoint just a few to discuss their importance and why they should be supported. If we are going to safeguard the future, we have to enable this particular agency to have the resources that it needs to do the job we want it to do. We have the freedom to determine the task. We have the freedom to make choices about how we want to treat to the use of certain drugs in our society. But we must ensure that whatever we task them to do, they must be adequately resourced. This particular agency, there are two that are particularly dear to me. One is their project called Project Soft. Project Soft started out as an intervention that was done for children who took the 11+. And that's why I single it out today, because today we have a couple thousand children taking that exam and wondering about their future, tensing up about the math problem that they're trying to solve or the English exercise that they're trying to do at this time. May God bless them as they take their exam. But we recognized in the National Council of Substance Abuse that there were certain strategic moments at which we could get the attention of young people. There were certain strategic positions in their life that should we be able to make an intervention at that point, we could have a greater impact. And one of those points is when a child is transitioning from primary school to secondary school. Because while it is a major transition, it is also a moment of greatest danger for them. Because they're moving from the relatively sheltered environment of the primary school, where teacher is almost like mummy. They're moving into a big school. They've just come from primary school where they're at the top of the school, they're the big kids, and they're transitioning now to a secondary school where they're now the little kids, and they now have to fit in, and they now have to become integrated into the secondary school system. And in that secondary school system, they are subjected to bullying, they're subjected to drugs, they're subjected to sex, they're subjected to behaviors that may be alien to how they were brought up in the first place. And the desperate need to fit in puts enormous pressure on a child to fit into the behaviors that are presented to them, especially in those early years, that first year, that first term. Tremendous pressures. And so the National Council on Substance Abuse designed Project SOFT to specifically address that transition, to give those children the support that they need in order to make the crossover from their primary to their secondary schools. So they hosted a camp every year during the summer holiday for some of the kids who were making the transition. And this was an entire week of being together and working through all of the things they were likely to face in secondary school. Dealing with issues of self-esteem, talking with them about how to build new friendships, talking to them about their choices, explaining what to do if someone confronts you with something like drugs. And this was so successful. One of the things we started doing, I believe, was monitoring the children who passed through the Project SOFT and monitor them through their secondary years to see how well they were doing in being able to resist some of the pressures that they would encounter. And from the time I saw that program, I said, we haven't been able to do it as yet, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to give sufficient resources at some point in time for us to be able to have something like a Project SOFT held at every school before school opens as part of their orientation, to give them a chance to bond, to understand, to be supported and coached through their transition from primary to secondary education. And I believe that if we could do this in every single school, we'd be able to manage the behaviors of our children and give them the focus that they need to succeed in their new schools. And more importantly, Mr. Speaker, and I'm going to drift a little bit, and I hope you give me the little bit of license. People know that I am not awfully happy with how the 11 plus impacts our children. I am not. The damage to their psyche when they feel they've not passed for what they consider a good school. Project SOFT, that project where we bring them together and prepare them for transition, is a good time to try to bring some healing to that particular wound, and I would love to see it included. So Project SOFT is something I would love to see broadened. Then we have the Life Education Center, and this is a mobile unit that goes from school to school, putting on messages and activities for children in very engaging ways that helps them to discuss and talk through and understand the world around them. And I remember when we were trying to raise money for that, it was very challenging. It was $45,000 at the time, and that's a few years back, and that was a lot of money for us to find that money to raise, but we were able to get it done. And that life, I'm so pleased to hear the Honourable Member for St. James North speak about the fact that today has been able to impact the lives of 45,000 children. And I want to give kudos to the department for that tremendous success. Now, there are two programs that I understand they are planning to put on. And I would give the Honourable Member for St. James North, probably on another occasion or when he's wrapping up, he may want to address them. But I just want to say a little bit about the attempts here. He will share with you what they're called and so on. But there's one community project that they want to launch that wants to encourage people in responsible behavior. Responsible behavior requires people to be informed. You cannot be responsible if you're not informed. If you're not informed, you can be as responsible as you like. You're going to come up with the wrong decision. And they're looking at the use of music and social media, trying to break down the messages of making those good choices about wellness and health, etc., and encapsulating it in the idioms and the elements that young people respond to, social media and music. And so I think that this will go a long way in getting into their consciousness. But the other one is a program that is going to be launched to do demystifying of the issues surrounding drug misuse. Demystifying the issues. I want to just share a little bit about why that is important. Mr. Speaker, I'm an MP. And I move through my community. And I see what is happening to families, children, young people. And as I shared, we now have a young generation of parents who don't see anything wrong with drugs. And I've seen some parents smoking marijuana over the heads of their young babies, not understanding that marijuana slows the brain down. That's what keeps it calm. That's what makes you feel good. It slows down brain activity. The problem is that a growing child whose brain is not fully developed, that slowing down affects the growth and proper development of the children. So I engaged some of them in a conversation, seeking to explain to them why this was injurious to their children. I said, you know, if you want to smoke away your brains, that is your personal choice. I said, but it's not fair to this child for you to do this. And a discussion started out, so we started to talk. And they put some arguments to me that, Mr. Speaker, I thought that they were standing next to you in a court of law arguing on behalf of a client. They had marshaled the argument so well. After a robust discussion, one asked me, "You take Panadol?" I said, "Yes." Says, "You take antibiotics?" And he listed off a whole stream of things that we use in our society. And his position was, so why do you want to prevent us from using it? And it was only as they were sharing, I understood some of the misconceptions that they have. Mr. Speaker, you and I know that marijuana has a good and powerful use. We know it has tremendous medicinal benefits. We also know that there are different strains that have differing intensities, and therefore taken in an unregulated way, the individual has no way of knowing what is the potential effect on them. They don't. They were not able to distinguish between my having a headache, taking 2 Panadol, and based on prescription, every 6 hours, take another 2, and do not exceed X amount within a 24-hour period. They could not see that there was a difference between that and the unregulated smoking of marijuana at will. Could not see the difference. So I stopped arguing because I recognized that we were not starting off from the same base. As we proceed with the legalization of medical marijuana, I think is very important. I think it is an important industry that we can pursue because it has benefits. I'm trusting that in between there and when we go to a referendum, that an agency like the NCSA will be able to share clearly to the population the pros, the cons, the science, so that when they go to vote, that people can make that informed choice. And when they make that informed choice, that we will all abide by it because it is a choice of the country, and we will respect whatever that outcome is. That is my position on it, Mr. Speaker. But what I would like in the interim, and I will give every support to their minister, I will support any effort that we make to increase the resources, the staffing, the finances, the cooperation that we can give this unit, that this unit can do its work. Our children are our future. They're going to be the workforce of the future. And therefore, we must have a coherent social and economic policy. Everything we do must make sense for the future of our people. To deal with this matter, this is a whole nation exercise. Every person in this country has to be involved in this. At the government level, we have to support, we have to put the policy, we have to give them a mandate, and we have to help with the coordination. The private sector, I want to particularly appeal to you. There are things that you can do to assist the NCSA.
I remember you have 2 more
mandate.
minutes.
How many minutes, pardon me, Mr. Speaker?
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes, bless you, thank you, sir. The private sector can help with sponsorship. Why not put a little tagline onto your advertisement that helps to spread the issue? Responsibility, making good choices. Families and parents have a responsibility. We cannot hope that somebody else will do something about it. We have to get out there and volunteer. We have to get out there and educate ourselves so that we can have informed conversations with our children and young people. Our wider community, our retirees, our students. We have a huge population of returning nationals resettling nationals who've come back to Barbados to live, still have lots of energy, still have lots of ability, that can volunteer to be able to work with an agency like NCSA and help us in the work that needs to be done in order to educate our population so that Barbados can make informed decisions and that our people can make good choices in the interest of their health, in the interests of their families, in the interests of their nation. Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged to you.
Honourable Member for St. Michael South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I do not intend to be long this morning, but they seem to be saying that every day and being longer than they intend to be. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is one of those conversations, sir, that I feel particularly inclined to involve myself in because of the nature of my own life and the work that I've done, most of it. And, Mr. Speaker, sir, to get straight to the matter, sir, what are we talking about when we're talking about substance abuse? And the World Health definition, sir, is that substance abuse, they see substance abuse as harmful or hazardous or of psychoactive substances use of psychoactive substances, including alcohol and illicit drugs. So, sir, it begs the question then, what is a psychoactive drug? And those are the kind of drugs that, people get addicted to, dependent on. They change your mood, your behavior, sir. So we are, in essence, talking about all kinds of things, including caffeine, nicotine, all kinds of things. And, sir, in a conversation of this nature, I would not want to use this opportunity to limit a conversation on marijuana use, sir, because I feel the National Council on Substance Abuse has a much bigger role to play in Barbados. And in my mind, sir, we need, as much as the role is bigger, we need an expanded NCSA with a larger mandate, sir, across Barbados. And, sir, it is in this sense, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I wish to focus today really on 2 things. I think we need, before I do that, sir, to look at the institutional issues surrounding the NCSA. But I also feel that there are deeper issues that we need to talk about as a country. But my main focus today will be on community participation. And in essence, sir, at the end of the day, all of us live in a community, we work in a community, we represent a community, or a series of communities, Mr. Speaker, sir. And it is my belief, sir, that the NCSA must lead the debate when it comes to the use of all kinds of drugs. And that conversation, sir, even though they lead the debate, obviously it cannot be located in one institution. We just heard that they have challenges in terms of the amount of staff they have and so on. But that they need to have different agencies, sir, working with the NCSA to deal with the many issues that Barbados is facing, sir, as it relates to all kinds of drugs. And the issue, sir, isn't really the drug, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because if it were the drug, as it relates to every drug, we would have a conversation, sir, about cigarettes and the coffee that all of us drink to keep us up and keep us cheerful in meetings, and the alcohol that many men consume. I must tell you, Mr. Speaker, sir, when I was a boy, growing up in the Pine, my mother, one day, God bless her soul, you hear? One day, Mr. Speaker, sir, went out by the canteen, where I used to lime. And the men who were at the canteen said to me, you know, you're going to grow up to be nothing. And, you know, it hurt my feelings, because I was young and tender. Before politics made me a little bit more rough. But Mr. Speaker, I went home and I said to my mother at the time, I said, well, the man said that I will amount to nothing. That there was this judgment on me, you know, I feel bad. My mother said, you mean the men who go by the canteen every morning, sit there all day, drink rum the whole day, make little contributions in other ways, Mr. Speaker, sir, are casting a judgment on you that you are going to amount to nothing. No, I'm not saying that they amounted to nothing, Mr. Speaker, sir. I am just saying that they felt it was okay because we have somehow excused alcohol, not use, alcohol abuse from the conversation, sir. And we want to take another drug, whatever that drug may be. Minimal use is a problem, but extensive abuse of another is not, Mr. Speaker, sir. I do not want the NCSA to get distracted because their work is too important, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the vast range of issues that the NCSA must cover, sir, in a country like Barbados, Mr. Speaker, sir, that are dealing with all kinds of issues. In my mind, sir, that is too significant a role, sir. And it is in that context that I feel we need to have a conversation, not now, about the role of the NCSA, its social role, legal, sir, economic, political, Mr. Speaker, sir, because I cannot believe that we could be having a serious conversation about the changing nature of Barbados, sir, and the NCSA is not in the conversation. I also feel, Mr. Speaker, sir, as I said, growing up and in the constituency that I represent, I would love to see, and maybe they do and I just don't know, but a larger role for the NCSA in the constituencies, sir, the ones that I represent and the one that I grew up in, to talk about a whole range of things, Mr. Speaker, sir. And so I wish very quickly, Mr. Speaker, sir, to speak today about community involvement of the NCSA and larger community issues as it relates to substance abuse. Mr. Speaker, sir, I read the vision of the NCSA, and I think, if I might be dead or wrong, but I think what I saw was that it is to be the leading authority, or to be the authority on drug abuse reduction in Barbados. I think that's good, but I also, in my mind, the role for NCSA is so big that I would have an even bigger vision, Mr. Speaker, sir, beyond just drug abuse reduction. But maybe it's changed. I just feel that the role of the NCSA now is so significant, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we need a larger vision that encompasses all these things that I feel we must do, sir. And in my community, for example, I also read, before I get into my community, sir, I also read in the brief we were provided about the community-based intervention program. And it said that the NCSA is also involved in the reducing drug trafficking. That's a big one, Mr. Speaker, sir. Reduce the incidence of use of drugs in sports, prevent or reduce consumption of licit or illicit drugs, to promote and enhance the life skills abilities of young people in regards to drugs and their health, and to introduce alternatives to drug use, and so on, Mr. Speaker, sir. So there's a big role in terms of its community participation intentions. But I run a constituency, and I'm more than willing to have a relationship with the NCSA so that we could talk about a number of things, real community work, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I do not hold the view that many other members do, that everything that is done in the community is a problem. I don't, Mr. Speaker, sir. I feel that we need to have a conversation about the changing nature of drug use in Barbados at some point. And that what we term a drug, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the negative connotations associated with it, I feel we also have to have conversations about that too. Because I know people who behave differently on all kinds of things, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I feel as if we need to have that separate conversation. But my work, my relationship with the NCSA, as well as with other groups, sir, in the community, must be about building out a community, sir. I am not here to cast judgment on anybody, Mr. Speaker, sir. Of course, if you're guilty of a crime, you're guilty of a crime. If you're guilty of a sin, you're guilty of a sin. But all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. I know that. And I know that in my constituency, during my election, sir, there were people that I put on my election platform. I will tell you of two. I have a constituent, sir, who was on hard drugs. I'm not talking about weed. I'm not talking about marijuana, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm talking about hard drugs. To the extent, sir, anyways, to the extent, sir, when I put him on or decided I was going to put him on my first meeting, sir, there were people saying, why are you putting him up there? This man used to do drugs. You know, Kurt, he was a drug addict. He lived on the street. And that you shouldn't put him up there because of that. I couldn't understand that. To me, that was the reason I should have put him up there, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because he who feels it knows it. And, Mr. Speaker, sir, this man gave me a story of his exposure to drugs. And I hear people saying all kinds of things about people take other drugs as an introduction to it. It wasn't nothing, so it was one time on coke. And he told me, sir, that he had set limits in his mind of the things that he won't do. He wasn't going to do certain things. And every time he said, okay, I won't do this, when he really needed the money, he found himself doing it. To the point where the very last thing he said he wouldn't do, he found himself doing. And at that point, he determined that he had to somehow find help, sir. But that man now, sir, is not on hard drugs. And he spends so much time talking to the people in the community, Mr. Speaker, sir. Talking to them about, how to live, and not only about drugs, because we really feel that this is a conversation only about drugs, sir. A lot of these people that end up on hard drugs, Mr. Speaker, sir, are raised in environments where they are abused. And we know this, Mr. Speaker, sir. They're raised in environments, sir, where they are abused many times, where it is the thing to do, all kinds of things. But when everybody here knows I grew up in the Pine. When I used to grow up in the Pine, I would always ask myself, why would I want to go and become a coke addict? Because in the villages where we grew up, the person who was known as the parody drug addict was the person that would always get beat up, always getting run about. You see him one day size, next day small, nobody don't want to talk. Why would I see that and then want that for myself? I never fully understood it, but it came home very close to me, sir, in my own family. And so none of us, sir, are above this. And this will affect all of us. And they therefore feel how we treat to it, Mr. Speaker. So we have to treat to it first as human beings, sir. And then there was another guy in my constituency who was a barber. His intention is to get into the schools and talk to people about his experiences on drugs. And he, sir, is a positive role model now. And I feel as if we need to change the narrative in many ways, not only the narrative, but the approach. But we have to change the narrative around these things, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because we have a large set of people in Barbados who've been through things, who have faced severe challenges, people who have done things, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the most depraved of moments. And we as a society, sir, cannot expect to judge people at their lowest. And that's what happens all the time. You see a man at his lowest and make condemnation of the man for the rest of his life. And then, if you're politicians, when election time comes around, the ex is the same as another man's ex. People have value beyond that, Mr. Speaker, sir. And all of us have the same exact life. And I therefore find it very difficult all the time when I'm having conversations around these things, sir. I understand the challenge of it. I really do, Mr. Speaker, sir. But if we are going to build a society, we have to build a society, Mr. Speaker, sir, for all. That includes all. And that when a man, sir, has made an error, we have to give people space to make error, Mr. Speaker, sir, but to come back and to participate in regular conversations and to have a role. You know, you want to talk about reducing crime, but a man who once committed a crime and trying to change his life can't get a job because he has a criminal record. You won't hire a man, sir, to do certain things because you knew he once did drugs. And it doesn't even have to be hard drugs. All kinds of things, therefore compounding a situation that is already complex. Mr. Speaker, sir, I feel as if we really need to step back. I feel that the NCSA must take fresh guard too and think about this issue, sir, in new ways. And to change the narrative, sir, and to have a brand new conversation. I know the difficulty of trying to change things because I'm trying to put a ban on plastics. And I know how one sometimes finds oneself in the firing line when one attempts to change human behavior. It is not an easy task, Mr. Speaker, sir, but I feel as if we must stay the course. We have to stay the course. And I therefore wish to see the NCSA expanded. I really do. I wish to see its role in communities expanded. I want to know who is the NCSA officer, or even I would like to even change the name then, to be honest with you. I would like to change the name. I can't do it off the floor of Parliament. But I feel that the National Council on Substance Abuse is too limiting a name and a role for an organization that is so fundamentally important to the transformation of Barbados that we wish to see, and the involvement of people that we wish to see. And that deliberately or undeliberately, sir, perhaps even it could lead to exclusion of other people. I think we need to rethink it and to look at its broader function, sir. I mean, in 2019, the National Council on Substance Abuse, as our leading agency, sir, I feel it must have, and I may now use this opportunity to implore the Honourable Member, my good friend for St. James North, even perhaps to think about it, because I feel as if the role in my mind is so big that we need a name that encompasses the role and the functions as we attempt to place the responsibilities across for leading this charge all through Barbados with a completely different narrative, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because if we want to sit here, Mr. Speaker, sir, or stand here, sir, and pretend to be blind and cast judgment on a large majority of Barbadians, cast judgment on a number of my constituents, and on the Honourable Member for St. Michael, South Central, and others, sir. We casting judgment, you know, in different ways. And people who do certain things are being judged, sir, but we see it on the street in Britinshill, we see it on the street in the Pine, but we don't see it in the middle class areas where everybody in the middle class areas engaging in the same behaviors too, Mr. Speaker, sir. And that when we start talking about trying to save people from certain things, it is because we are associating other social and economic issues with that one thing. And that one thing, sir, transcends political and social and economic class. Everybody know doing it. I'm getting into all of that, Mr. Speaker, sir, but at the end of the day, sir, it is so easily, so visual in communities like mine that we could make judgments. But I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is happening across Barbados. And I don't want to limit this conversation to that because I feel, as I said, we need to zoom out and take a larger look at what is really occurring in this country, Mr. Speaker, sir. I really feel that we must. And to that extent, sir, I feel we need to speak about the nature of collaboration. And to build a model through the NCSA or whatever it may become. But through the NCSA, sir, that looks at the youth organizations, the police, the media, Mr. Speaker, sir, that has a face in the community. I'm not saying that they don't, but I don't know the one in St. Michael South. And I didn't know the one in the Pine. But that has a face in the community, sir, that is modeled, sir, and it is built up with other agencies, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I mean, sir, if you take the youth organizations, they have a big role to play. Because in large degree, we're talking to young people and about young people. And we need to have them involved. Sir, we need to have the police involved. But I've always had the view that we need to have a deeper sense of community policing. As a matter of fact, when the Honourable Attorney General and myself walked through the Orleans and Chapman Lane the other day, the community police officer for the area knew everybody by name. And they all knew him. And they all opened the doors to him. And everybody said what a good man he is, because of the nature of his relationship with the community. And that I feel that that kind of relationship is important for a lot of our institutions. People fear the institutions that they should be coming to. People shiver at the thought sometimes of engaging with some of these institutions. Many of my people still won't go into welfare. This relationship between the institutions and the people that they're supposed to serve, Mr. Speaker, sir, must get attention from this government. Because whether it is real or imagined, it is real in the minds of people. And so that relationship between these institutions, sir, and the people that they serve must come under the scope too. People must feel that they can go to these institutions, sir. And that has to become a deliberate effort on the part of these institutions, Mr. Speaker, sir, to be able to engage people at all levels. When I was in the Ministry of Social Care, and we worked very closely when I was head of the constituency councils, and we worked closely with the Community Development Department. There'd be times on occasion I'd hear some things being said by the NCSA, and I would figure, this is so brilliant, everybody else needs to know it. Just to be able to work, the nature of working together, sir, to solve our social problems. That's the only way we're going to do it. And as important as any one institution is, no one institution is significant enough, strong enough, Mr. Speaker, sir, to bring the change that we need to have in Barbados. That is the way we all have to work together. And Mr. Speaker, sir, in that regard, I feel as if research has to become integral. I know you all do a lot, but I feel research has to become integral to the role of the NCSA. The honourable member spoke about the research as well, but he spoke in relation to crime. I feel as if we need to have research about all kinds of things. In relation to health and wellness, as it relates to drug use. In relation to a number of things. I mean, this whole idea of understanding behavioral health and wellness, Mr. Speaker, sir. That the role of the NCSA to me is so significant, and you can't have a conversation on these things and not have a larger conversation too on mental health, Mr. Speaker, sir. So this thing has to have a much larger focus. It also has to have, in my mind, greater priority given to it. I feel we need to elevate this to perhaps an even higher level in our society, so that we can have a more serious conversation. You know, Mr. Speaker, sir, when I worked for the government of Canada, if I came to work one day and I say I feel as if I'm having a breakdown, this is for real. If I say I feel as if I'm having a breakdown, or that my supervisor is causing me stress, there are things that immediately kick in to take care of me, because that is so serious an issue for the government of Canada. If a man says he's having certain challenges, Mr. Speaker, sir, there must be things that kick in to take care of the person. And that we don't have those conversations here, because we still treat to mental health as if it is some kind of strange, communicable disease that you get by talking to somebody or even talking about it. People hiding away other people. Sir, a man dealing with all kinds of challenges, sir, and being hidden away to deal with it on his own. And that unless we start having these cross-cutting conversations to deal with an issue that, in my mind, is very, very serious, Mr. Speaker, sir, the phrase that the Honourable Member for St. James North used was spinning top in mud, and we may end up doing so. And I do not wish for that, sir, for this government. And I also feel, sir, that, you know, we have to follow these new trends, sir. We are focusing a lot on one little thing, and they got all kinds of new drugs in Barbados. They got all kinds of new drugs in Barbados. People taking things that are dangerous. And Mrs. Speaker said they are here, and they are in the parties, and they are in the fests. You know what? You don't see it. You don't see smoke coming from them at the end of a cigarette. So they don't attract the natural visual attention, but they're causing more damage, Mr. Speaker, sir. And we really need to start talking about these things and how can we strengthen the NCSA to be involved in some way to be testing for some of these new drugs, creating new prevention methodologies to address these new drugs, sir, that are creeping in to our society. And as I close, Mr. Speaker, sir, this issue of stigma is really one that we have to address. This issue of stigma. And on the one hand, sir, nobody wants to be labeled a drug user or a drug abuser. You know, you see young people on the street corner, and people say, like, why are you spending so much time with them? All of them is drug users. They're druggies. And the savage and violent consequence of that, sir, is that you cut out such a significant portion of our society on your own judgment and your own fear, sir. And that I wish to remind the Honourable Chamber, sir, that these psychoactive drugs include alcohol and nicotine and the caffeine that all of us consume to work these 18-hour days that we are working. Most of us, not the Honourable Member for St. Peter. Sir. But Mr. Speaker, sir, so as I close, there's just these three things that I wish to remind the Honourable Chamber of, Mr. Speaker, sir. That in any conversation, sir, on the way forward, and I don't want to talk about the way forward necessarily, on drug abuse and drug use, just about the drugs that are in Barbados, their consequences, their impacts, that the NCSA must take the lead. I also feel that now is a new time to talk about a new function and a new name, as we talk about the expanded role for that. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, I feel as if we must deepen the partnerships so that all of us are working together for a common goal. I feel as if that is going to be vitally important and that we must report on those partnerships so that they have to be institutionally implemented, sir. And then lastly, that there needs to be a real face in the community doing real work, sir, relating to all kinds of things. And beyond reducing drug addiction or the abuse of drugs, I feel we need to talk about something. That's the end game, you know. That's where we got. That's when we got where we didn't want to get. That's at the end of the day. But in the morning, sir, we need to be having a conversation about how do we work as a country to build up a new society, sir. And how do we have a new narrative around, sir? You know, there are times when things that worked for us, tools that worked for us that once were an asset, thoughts, the way we saw the world that once was an asset, sir, does not necessarily always remain an asset. And sometimes you have to rethink how you see the world, especially as the world changes. I feel so about plastic. I feel so about other things. As the world changes, sometimes you have to rethink how you see the world, and that we have to limit our fears, especially in leadership, sir, so that we do not use our fears to draft policy. And that we must have a bigger conversation, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I am pleased to support, of course, the Honourable Member for St. James North. I am pleased to support the NCSA and its role, but I do believe that now is the time, sir. You know, no, but a crisis, they say, is a terrible thing to waste. And, sir, now is the opportune moment, sir, to revisit a lot of what we are doing in that organization, sir, but to strengthen its hand at the end of the day. With those few words, I wish to thank you. Thank you very much.
Honourable Member for City of Bridgetown.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the session be suspended for lunch until 1:50 p.m. 150.
150. 150.
10 to 2.
The question is that this Honourable Chairman will be suspended until 10 minutes to 2 in the p.m. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. This Honourable Chamber stands suspended until 10 minutes to 2 in the p.m.